Hi Libra, and welcome to your February 2024 horoscope. Even though February is a short month, there's actually quite a lot happening. And the unique thing is almost all of the planets are doing something funky one day or another. So whether you're somebody that's more influenced by Mars or the Sun or Venus, almost all of us will have one day or multiple days where we're going through it. We're having a human experience and feeling strong emotions. Let's get into what you can expect day by day in February. On February 6th, Venus squares the nodes and the Sun trines and sextiles the nodes. The nodes are in your first and second house, Venus in your fourth, and the Sun in your fifth. The nodes are teaching everybody collectively for a bit of time now and for another year on setting boundaries and stopping to compromise on all of the things that actually really matter to us and that we don't want to compromise on. And on this day, your ego might be loving that. Your ego might really be relishing in setting boundaries with everybody as it goes along through the day. But you might also get confronted with the fact that we are humans that cannot exist on this earth alone. We are humans that need relationships and connection. And sometimes those require compromise. So it's an interesting way to start off the month with trying to find a balance between the two. There's a lot happening on February 7th, and we bring in Uranus and Neptune in the conversation. So the Sun is squaring Uranus, Venus is trining Uranus, and Mars is sextiling Neptune. With Mars being in your fourth house, there might be some actions you're taking around your home, perhaps buying a new house or moving, or taking some actions in terms of the relationships you have with your family that feels sort of aligned and feels inspired from a source above. It's an action that really feels aligned to who you are and where you're heading in life. To those outside of this situation that are not very close to you, seeing you do this action, it might feel like you're quite weird or unique or a little bit out of the box. But those that are close to you see this action and actually appreciate how aligned it is with who you truly are and your unique self. On the 9th of February, there is a new moon in Aquarius in your fifth house. So your fifth house is going to get quite a bit of action for the next 20 years because Pluto just entered on January 21st. So it's a story, it's some lessons that you're going to be grappling with for a while now. However, notice if anything happened on January 21st when Pluto entered the fifth house. That was triggering, that was eventful and emotional. Because during this new moon, it's an amazing time to start new in that chapter. You know, perhaps on January 21st, you notice something that you wish you had done differently, or you wish that something had played out in a different way. And during this new moon is a perfect time to put that in motion. On the 12th of February, Venus in your fourth house is sextiling Neptune in your sixth house. For the last 15 or so years, you've been really learning about your family, where you come from, your roots, what you need in a home. And now that Pluto has left that house and entered a new one, it might feel like slowly you're integrating all of those lessons. And now that Venus is about to leave that house as well, and because it makes such a beautiful aspect to Neptune, on this day it might feel like you finally get it. It might feel like you finally understand why you had to learn the lessons you had to learn, and you finally understand why that was needed in your soul's evolution. On the 13th of February, Mars leaves your 4th house and enters your 5th house. And because Pluto is right there at the beginning of your 5th house, it also conjuncts Pluto. When we put Mars and Pluto together, we see a lot of action and a lot of energy. Sometimes this can mean sort of burning ourselves out because we have an endless supply of energy. But it can also mean that we're directing that energy into things that don't really matter, things that are petty, for example. So I would advise on this day to really take a step back and reflect on where you're putting your energy and if it's going towards something that really matters to you. 3 days later, on the 16th of February, Venus does the same. It also enters your 5th house and conjuncts Pluto. You know, your relationships might be triggering you on this day, and this is almost universal for everybody. And for you especially, they might be triggering you around your playfulness and your self-expression. Keep in mind that Pluto is going to be in your 5th house for a while, so there's no need to sort of learn all the lessons, integrate all the lessons on this one day. This is a really big theme you'll be working with for a while. On this day instead, just take the time to reflect, take time to notice. And when it feels a little bit less intense and less emotional, you can take a look at perhaps what the situation is trying to teach you. On the 19th of February, the Sun enters Pisces, or your 6th house. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So from February 19th onwards, I want you to see this as sort of like the last month of the year. It's like December again. And I want you to use this time to reflect on what you want to let go of going in the following year. And for you specifically, because this is in your 6th house, I want you to reflect on all of the things you can let go of in regards to your health and your routines, things that are no longer serving you and that you don't want to bring into the new year. On the 21st of February, Mars and Venus are conjunct in your 5th house. This can be quite an emotional day. It can feel like there's a lot of passion and a lot of determination, especially around your self-expression. You want to play, you want to be your unique self, you want to have fun. Because both Venus and Mars hit Pluto on their way into your 5th house, I do think that this day might still bring up some of the same triggers. So it could present as a nice day to have a try again at some of the lessons it's trying to teach you. On the 24th of February, there's a full moon in Virgo in your 12th house. And during this full moon, Venus in your 5th house is squaring Jupiter in your 8th house. If you have had any unclarity around your mental health or the way you take care of your mind, for example, this full moon might make things a bit more clear and a bit more understanding of the next actions you need to take and the next steps you need to take regarding your mental health. Because Venus is squaring Jupiter, you could feel like you could sort of take a breath. Oof, I figured it out. I know what to do next. And then you might sort of overindulge or overextend yourself because of that. You want to sort of celebrate the insights. Just be careful that you don't go overboard with that. A couple of days later, on the 26th of February, Mars also squares Jupiter. Mars is the planet of action. Jupiter is the planet of optimism. So when they're put together, we see that there's a tendency for impulsive actions. You see something, you feel optimistic about it, and you want to do it right then and there. And for you specifically, this might be things surrounding your self-expression. Perhaps you find a new hobby that you're like, yes, let's go. I want to try it right here and right now. I would just recommend, it's amazing that you're optimistic, but I would just recommend to wait a couple of days. See if that idea you had still feels as amazing as it did before. And then if it does, go ahead and have fun. On the 28th of February, Saturn and the Sun are conjunct in your sixth house. Saturn entered your sixth house last year in March, and perhaps it's been making you feel some responsibility around your health and routine that you haven't been taking before. Perhaps all of a sudden you notice how you have to actually really work hard to be healthy. You have to work hard to stick to a good routine. And on this day when the Sun and Saturn are conjunct, this might feel especially pessimistic. It might feel like these responsibilities are really weighing you down and like there's no hope. I just want to remind you that Saturn can make things feel like that sometimes, but all it wants is for us to put in the hard work. At the end, if we show up and put in the hard work, Saturn will reward us. On the 29th of February, the last day of February, we finish off the month the way we started, with a conversation between Venus and the nodes. Even though we started with a square between Venus and the nodes, we're closing off the month with a trine and a sextile between them. It's almost as if you integrated the lessons at the beginning of the month, if you showed up, you did the work, you allowed yourself to think about the lessons and really understand them, that we finish off the month with this really deep understanding that setting boundaries can sometimes lead to more deep and meaningful relationships. So overall, Libra, a lot of emphasis in your 5th and 6th house this month. You're really learning about your creativity and about expressing your inner child. And at the same time, you're also really grounded by Saturn in regards to your routines. You might be working extra hard to make sure you set up good habits for yourself on the day-to-day. I promise you, it is worth all of the effort. And even though you might be going through all of that effort, I hope you still learn to enjoy the month and have fun with it as well. Thank you for joining me for this February horoscope. I hope it helps you for the month ahead. And if you want to make sure you catch the March horoscope, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.